Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome to another new movie review. Today we're going to be talking about Rift / Rökkur. I think that's how you say it. Really quick before I get into anything else though, I want to welcome Brooke, aka Phantom Ginger, here on YouTube for joining the ranks of the great creepy patron peeps. So thank you so much for your support, Brooke. I love you. And like I said, she does have a YouTube channel, so I highly recommend you checking her out. So thank you to all of my other creepy patron peeps as well for your support of my channel. It means so much to me. If you want to find out the perks to becoming a creepy patron peep, you can follow that link in the description. Now on to a summary of Rift. Months after they broke up, Gunnar receives a strange phone call from his ex-boyfriend Einar. He sounds distraught, like he's about to do something terrible to himself. Gunnar drives up to the secluded cabin where Einar is holed up and soon discovers that there's more going on than he imagined. As the two men come to terms with their broken relationship, some other person seems to be lurking outside the cabin, wanting to get in. As you probably saw from the movie info card, this is an Icelandic horror film, which is so awesome. I've never seen a horror movie from Iceland before. This was a completely new and exciting experience for me watching this movie. But I saw the trailer when I was looking for movies to review for New Movie Review Mondays, and I saw this one and it looked way too interesting to pass up. And I was reading a little bit about the movie, and it was inspired just as much by Iceland as it was by the director's personal life. I read in an interview that he had recently gone through a breakup at the time when he wrote this movie, so he used that inspiration paired with his desire to make something relatively cheaply in Iceland. So let's get into what I liked about Rift. Alright, so as I mentioned, this was shot in Iceland, so the very first thing I have to talk about is the scenery and the setting of this movie. It is beautiful, beautiful. Probably the smartest idea on the director's part to use the scenery of Iceland, because it's just something so beautiful naturally on its own, and you can tell he just, you know, they didn't have to do anything to the scenery to make it even more beautiful. So it was amazing, and it was used really well to the effect of the idea of isolation, which is a big theme in the movie. The cabin that Gunnar and Einar are staying in is in a small town, but it's pretty far away from the rest of the town. So not only is the little town they're in isolated, but their cabin is even more isolated from that little town. So there's lots of like beautiful shots of just the cabin, which is like so tiny, and then you just see the like huge expanse of landscape behind them, and there's nothing else around. And that's used a lot as well, not just with the cabin, but with the characters. They're often standing in the foreground, and you can see the amazing background behind them, and nothing, no buildings, no cars, anything in the scenery either. Very much reminded throughout this movie of how isolated and alone they are as a pair, as the two of them in the cabin, and each individually. Speaking of the actors who you would have seen their names come up in the movie info card, I'm sorry, I am not gonna try and pronounce them because I am going to butcher the fuck out of them. So I'm just not even gonna try, because I feel like it'll just be insulting to the actors and to all of the people of Iceland if I try and pronounce those names. But regardless of whether I can say their names or not, their performances were amazing. I loved their performances, and I feel like that's such an important thing to have, especially in a movie where like probably like 90% of the movie-ish is just those two, just Gunnar and Einar. So it's good that these two actors gave really great performances, and they had a lot of chemistry together as well. So it was really, it really sold the movie. If I didn't know any better, I would have guessed that they were once in a relationship and broken up, because they just had that good chemistry acting together. It was really believable. This is definitely one of those movies where there are multiple ways you can interpret like everything, which is fun. And it's again one of those movies which I've been talking about a lot recently, where the director doesn't spoon feed you the ending, doesn't force a particular interpretation of the movie on you. I'm sure the director has his own vision of what actually went on in the movie, but I like that he doesn't reveal that, and he leaves it up to the audience to decide for themselves. And there's so much to unpack with this movie as well. Just on the title alone, you know, I won't give anything away, but there's like a physical rift somewhere within the movie that comes into play. And then you can also relate that to the breakup that went on between these two characters. And what's really interesting is you don't see really any of their relationship. There is one flashback, but the movie very much takes place post-relationship and even post-breakup. So it's not like you're seeing them like together at the very beginning of the movie and then breaking up. It's like very much post-breakup as well, and there's some time that has passed with this breakup as well. And it's a really like interesting point in a relationship between two people that they chose to focus on. You know, so rift can also mean the rift that has formed between these two people who, you know, no longer understand each other. And it's a really interesting dynamic because we have Gunnar, who has moved on in the movie. He's moved on to somebody else. And he definitely looks like the older character. He looks a little bit older, and he's a little bit more mature, it seems, or stuck up, whichever way you want to look at it. And he goes to save Einar, who looks much younger, you know, physically and emotionally. He seems much more immature. He's taken the breakup a little bit harder, and you can just tell in the way they hold themselves and interact too, where Gunnar will, you know, even in the littlest things, which I really liked these touches in the movie. Just like little things like the way Gunnar sits at the table properly while eating his meal, and Einar like has his foot up on the chair, or there's one point where he is sitting on the kitchen counter eating cereal out of a box. He seems very much like, you know, just younger, emotionally younger than Gunnar. And you're never told exactly why they break up, but you can see by the way they interact with each other and their differences that you can tell that probably like their maturity level probably had something to do with why they broke up, it was a really nice touch. It was something that you can infer from the movie without being told, like without being shown a flashback of them breaking up and hearing the characters explain word for word why they broke up. The director gives the audience a lot of credit in this movie for figuring stuff out on our own, which I appreciate. You also have our unreliable protagonist thrown into the mix. So the movie is pretty much from Gunnar's point of view. He has a lot of very strange and vivid dreams, so it kind of gets to that point where you're like, well, I don't know if what we're seeing is actually happening, if this is real, or this is like Gunnar hallucinating. And that's a huge conflict in the movie that you kind of have to decide whether what's going on is real and what is in Gunnar's head. And I also like the way that the fact that this movie stars a gay couple was handled. What I mean is I like how the movie wasn't about them being gay. So you can tell based on like the plot and the way they're talking about it when it does come up that they've been out for a while. It's not about them coming out or still being closeted or anything like that. So you can tell they're much more comfortable with their sexuality. But it's about their breakup more than anything else. It's not about them being gay. So when it does come to, you know, sexual situations, you know, you have these two guys in a cabin that used to be in a relationship. So as you can imagine, some things maybe happen. But I like the way it was handled, and it was very nicely done. It was kind of sweetly done, and it's not like graphic sex or anything like that. Which I really liked, because I feel like something like that, for some reason, especially with gay characters, can be used just to titillate the audience, and that was not done here. I'm not going to explain the scene in detail to give anything away. All right, now let's move on to what I didn't like about Rift. Only thing I didn't like about the movie, and when I say didn't like, it was just because I didn't get it. It's the very end, which I won't tell you what happens, but it's like, I thought, like I said, Gunnar is super unreliable as a protagonist, so as the movie was going into the falling action, my brain was already starting to go like, okay, like, what happened? What's the actual timeline of this movie? And I'm like going through it as the movie is like slowly ending, and I think it's gonna end a certain way. And I'm just like, okay. And then all of a sudden there's just like one little thing that happens right before the movie ends, and I'm just like what? So weird for me to talk about without actually telling you what happens. It is something they foreshadow kind of towards the beginning of the movie, so if you watch it, definitely pay attention. But it was just like something like, I had no idea how it fit into the movie, and I know it does in some way. It was just like my tiny little brain just could not figure it out. So I put it in my dislikes because I couldn't figure it out. So if anyone's seen this movie and you know what I'm talking about and you have an interpretation of that ending, please enlighten me in the comments. Alright, so was Rift worth watching? I definitely say yes. For whatever reason, I guess I've been watching a lot of slow burn horror movies lately, and this definitely is a slower horror movie. And it has like drama and thriller elements in it as well, so it's not like a 100% horror movie either. So just be forewarned, you don't like that sort of thing, this movie probably isn't for you. Still very good though. It worked for me, so I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. On IMDb, it has a 5.6 out of 10. On Rotten Tomatoes, super interesting. It has a 100% critic score and a 50% audience score, which is crazy. And then you may have noticed last week, even though I was saying nothing on Roger Ebert, I was throwing up the Letterboxd reviews. I figured I would just do away with the Roger Ebert one because I feel like out of the 3, nobody really pays attention to Roger Ebert's website anymore. I don't know, maybe you guys do. I just decided to go with Letterboxd because I'm on Letterboxd. I know a lot of you guys are on Letterboxd, so it'd probably be a little bit more reflective of what you guys think of these movies. Anyways, yeah, so on Letterboxd it has a 3.2 out of 5. The only place that I was able to find to watch this was on YouTube for rentals, so I'll leave a link in the description box to the movie. That is not an affiliate link, just so you know. All right, so if you've seen Rift, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about it. Of course, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here and become a Creepy Peep today. I post videos Monday through Friday. Make sure you ring the bell to be notified every time that I upload a video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay strange. Bye.